Hey everybody, Sawyer here, and today I have a review for something called Final Street. This is essentially a beat 'em up arcade game put into a comic book form, and it's just as good as it sounds. This is put out by someone called Devil's Due Entertainment. I'm gonna be honest, I never heard of that publisher before, but this is I was actually happily surprised with this book, very much so. Um, the way the description reads is that over-the-top gender reversal comic book tribute to beat 'em up video games like Street Fighter, Double Dragon, and Final Fight. So, and it definitely has that vibe. You can feel that inspiration throughout the entire book, and in every way, the way the pages are formatted, the way the art plays out, the way the story plays out. But the only problem I have with this book is just like a beat 'em up game. There's not a whole lot of story, and the story is kind of paper thin. But that's not what's good. Not what's important here. What's important here is the flow of action, the dynamic art. The art's really good. I really like the art. It's very clean. It's very you got a lot of colors here, a lot of interesting character designs. I mean, it's just like an arcade video game. There's a lot of different kinds of people in this comic book. Lots of different kinds of people they fight. Like you see this one guy here looks kind of like a military GI Joe kind of guy or whatever. Then you got this other guy that looks like he's from a more traditional biker gang. One of the main characters is like a ninja basically. She's dressed up in like ninja clothes. She has throwing stars that she throws at people. The other girl main character is more of like a punk kind of like brawler. She's got like the mohawk, the red mohawk or whatever, and she's very much more of a kind of punk character. And it's just this weird mash of different kinds of characteristics and different personalities that make this book really interesting. I didn't actually get a picture of it for the video, but there's a panel early in the book where you see them walking down the street, and it feels like you're looking at the background of a beat 'em ups level. Like there's all these people there's always people sitting down on the street like they're watching the fight. There's all kinds of objects laying around, broken bottles and stuff. It does a really good job of mimicking what they're trying to be a tribute to, and I can really appreciate that. And just like here, we have some very dynamic action shots in this book. Like the art is really top notch in my opinion, and the way the fights just flow are so good. Like the pacing is incredibly fast in this book. Things just happen, and it just goes from fight to fight to situation to situation. Now the only problem with that is, and it's probably my biggest gripe with the book, and I've kind of said it already, but is that they sacrifice story and setup for just throwing you into the fray and getting you from point A to point B, which I guess it's okay in this book. I guess it's fine. I mean, it does lower my grade from like a perfect 5 to probably a 4, but it definitely was something I wish they would have did a little bit more of. But then they wouldn't have been able to keep the pace up as fast, I don't think. And I think I'd rather the quicker pace than the more in-depth storytelling. Because honestly, things just kind of happen in this book. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. There's not a lot of setup. We get a very basic story that the girl with the mohawk, I forget the characters' names, but she's dating this guy, and he's kind of, I don't want to say like a pushover, but he's not all as tough as her. He's kind of a more average person, and apparently he gets kidnapped by some bikers. For some reason, they don't go into why. They don't go into what's important about him or anything like that. I guess we'll find out later. But he gets kidnapped by some bikers, and his girlfriend basically is trying to get him back, like chasing after the bikers, but all these other goons keep getting in the way. And her best friend that was supposed to meet them for a dinner, she pops up, which is the ninja-like character. She's very like a more traditional Japanese-looking martial artist kind of character. She pops up and starts helping out, so it becomes this kind of Double Dragon formula where they're basically fighting their way through all these different set pieces. They start off in just like a streetway, then they make their way to like a subway division, and it's really interesting how it works. Another minor gripe I had is that they do this a few times throughout the book. They basically take the panel and turn it into literally a video game graphic. Like you see the characters are more pixelized, not quite completely pixelized, but they're drawn more like an arcade video game format. And you see the life bars on top of the two main characters, and it says like "Ready Stage 1" or something like that. And that's okay because that's kind of an homage to the genre that they're trying to capture here. But I felt like it did kind of take me away a little bit, and I feel like if they're gonna do that, then they should have made the whole book feel like that, and not just do 1 or 2 pages. Because I think it's like three panels they do that in, and it just kind of takes me away, and then they bring me back in with this really hyper aggressive, art style, and I'm just like, why? Either do it one way or the other. That's how I felt anyway. But maybe you won't be distracted by that as much as I was. But this book is definitely a love letter to like classic beat 'em up, Street Fighter kind of games. I mean, Double Dragon kind of games. If you like that genre, you're definitely going to appreciate this book, and you're going to find all kinds of little references and Easter eggs, everything from characters picking up random weapons on the ground and using them to fight, to picking up random food and eating it to kind of give their strength back up. Just classic things like that. In closing, I really enjoy this last page we get, or panel we get. It's great, very classic summary of the book basically, or the arcade level. Just really cool. So in closing, basically, this is a really good, aggressive book, full of action, full of excitement, good pacing, really quick, crazy good pacing. The story is a little lackluster. There's not a whole lot of it, and stuff just kind of happens for the sake of the story, or the sake of getting to the action, which is fine, for this kind of book. Maybe we'll get some more of that in the next few issues. But yeah, definitely a really awesome. I'm assuming this is an indie studio. It feels like an indie book at times. So definitely a really cool indie book to check out, guys, if you're looking for something different. It's also pretty cheap. I only paid about $1.50 or $1.99 for this digitally. So that's pretty damn cheap for comic books these days. As always, guys, like, comment, subscribe, and just keep on being awesome, and see you guys later.